today we are doing the swamp tour.
Yes, swamp tour.
You're going to see lots of alligators.
Hopefully. And snakes.
And spiders?
Probably not. Too small.
Okay. What's the purpose of that building up there?
Not a clue. Yeah. Looks like it might be a drawbridge of some kind.
Do you reckon we can get under it like that now? Yes, we can. Murky water, isn't it? So you don't want to take a bath in there now? Do you know how big it is?
I might need you to. You got a captain's license? Yeah. Not the same. Just like our bus, you can drive our buses probably.
I got CDL.
Yeah. Good thing for y'all though, it's the first day they're actually gonna let me drive the boat by myself though, so we're gonna figure this out together.
I don't trust you. I see right now.
You don't have a choice. You're on the boat now.
You know, I have a life jacket.
They got one underneath your seat.
I don't need it.
How's everybody doing this morning? Good, I'm glad to hear that. My name is Captain Pat, and I will be your tour guide slash boat captain today. Now, we do have a few safety things to go over before we get started. The front of this boat is called the bow. At no point in time can you sit or stand on that bow up there. About to put the boat in reverse, you might go over the front of the bow, and we definitely don't want that to happen. Now, they have tested this boat out with 22 people just on one side, jumping up and down, dancing around, and having a good old time, and it did not flip over. Now, there is always a first time for everything, though.
That always takes one person.
Now, if this boat was to flip over, though, your emergency exits are straight out in front of you. Get out of this boat. Because I promise you don't want to be stuck underneath it. Now, they do have life jackets underneath your seat in that compartment. You could reach underneath there and put one of those on. But really just stand up, because a lot of the water we're going to be in today is not that deep.
Oh, we can't stand it?
Yeah, most part. Now, if we do happen to lose anybody out the side of the boat, I do have this throw ring over here by my right-hand side, and I will do my best to lasso you back in the boat. But at the end of the day, I am a boat captain. I'm not a cowboy, so we'll see how that goes when the time comes. Now, there's also no smoking or vaping on this boat. If I see anybody smoking, I do have a fire extinguisher down here by my right-hand side, and I will put you out. I don't want to do that today.
Not in the water.
No, I got a fire extinguisher.
Yeah, put him out in the water.
Now, if we do see anything on the right-hand side, if everybody on the right would stay seated, y'all on the left, you could stand up, take a look, and take a picture.
What is?
There ain't nothing there yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying for when it happens.
Oh, I got you.
Now, if we do see anything on the left-hand side, if everybody on the left would stay seated, y'all on the right, you could stand up, take a look, and take a picture. Now, that's pretty much if we're floating around like this, though. If we are moving, I do ask you please stay seated. There are a lot of logs underneath the surface of the water out here, a lot of sandbars, stuff like that, and if I was to hit one of those, you were stand up, you might go to the bottom of the boat, or you might go out the side of it, and we'd have to try that old throw ring out again. Now, I think last but not least, we do have these handrails. Y'all please keep your hands inside of these handrails. We will see alligators today, and they do like hot dogs and sausages, and a lot of times I think your fingers look like those. And we don't want to lose any digits to those guys.
Oh, you got a gas.
Yeah, that's normal.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Isn't that thing?
No, that's gonna be all right. You smoking?
I don't know, I might decide to blame on. I know I smell gas, that's all I'm looking at.
That one leaks a little bit.
Yeah, you better put a ring.
Yeah.
That's precious gas right there.
It's gonna be all right.
We're gonna make it.
We're gonna be fine. I do this every day.
We got enough gas in this tank.
All of them are filled up. I can do 2 of these tours with one of them gas tanks. Now, y'all see that boat that sunk over there on the side of the river?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my old boat. Yeah.
It looks like.
Yeah. I told you. Now, I'm just kidding. Some guy brought that boat down here from Kentucky and ended up getting a hole in one of its pontoons and it sank. Now, I think the ironic part about that boat, though, it's got that nameplate above the window. I don't know if y'all can read that or not, but the name of that boat is still afloat. I do not think so. Now, sometimes I do like to stay on it, though. It does make for a nice, easy commute to get to work in the morning. You just got to fend off the alligators and the snakes on there. But the AC unit does still work, so that's all that matters in Louisiana, as long as you got one of them going. Now, I am assuming that everybody on this boat has seen the movie Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Y'all know how he had his shrimp boat to Jenny? Take a look over there, right hand side.
Well, yeah, that's it. Oh, that's not.
Yeah, that's not it.
That's a replica.
That's not even close to it. Now that is a shrimp boat though, so we call that a shallow water skimmer. So those guys normally fishing about 10 to 12 feet of water. They'll head out in the lakes and they'll drop their nets. They'll start trawling around for a little bit. And once they fill those nets up, they're gonna go ahead and pull them on up. And they're gonna sort their shrimp out by different sizes. They do have a big hold towards the front of that boat filled with ice and stuff like that to put their shrimp in there just to keep them fresh while they're out. And once they fill the boat up though, they're gonna go ahead and head on in the dock and they'll sell their catch. Now the whole design for that boat though is called a Lafitte skiff. And it was designed from the pirate Jean Lafitte himself. They do have some waterways upriver a little bit. They say he used to go dump his doubloons out in. Now I do question if somebody was lying sometimes when they say that though, because I have been looking for quite a while and I haven't found any doubloons laying on the bottom anywhere. But
It's a nice boat.
maybe one day it might happen. I might get to retire earlier. Now they do have all these houses that are going to be on the right hand side right here. Now these are all permanent residents and they live here year round. So these ones are accessible by land. So they got a little road back there on the other side. They can drive their cars up there to them. Now they do have some more upriver little ways though that are not. So they have a parking lot and a boat launch. And they'll go ahead and they'll park their truck and they'll hop in their boat and they'll drive across the river and they'll go to their house. They have to leave to go to work or go to the store or anything like that. They get back in that boat, drive back across the river, they'll tie their boat up and they'll get in their truck and they'll leave. Now I was born and raised here and I spent a lot of time on this river and I do love it, but that is too much work to live out here, I can tell you all that.
What city is this?
Slidell.
Is this one?
Yep. Now a lot of people that do live out here are retired, so it's not that they're really worried about going to work in the morning. And a lot of the ones that do work are commercial fishermen. So this is pretty much their roadway anyway when they're heading out to work to the lakes or the Gulf or things like that. Now the river that we're going to be on today though is called the West Pearl River. And this starts in Neshoba County, Mississippi. It's up around Jackson, Mississippi and Philadelphia, Mississippi.
I thought that was an
It's about
alligator.
444 miles long. Now they say about how the crow flies, it takes about 140 miles to get up there. Now it twists and winds down the landscape, makes it a little bit longer. Now as you get to the mouth of it though, it's going to open up into Lake Bourne, into the Wrigley's, and the Lake Pontchartrain. If y'all came from New Orleans today and y'all drove across that bridge, the twin spans, underneath that is Lake Pontchartrain. But about 50 miles north of that, it splits into 5 tributaries, and their names are the West Pearl, the West Middle Pearl, the Middle Pearl, the East Middle Pearl, and the East Pearl. Sad to say we're not very creative when it comes to naming rivers around here now.
Is that in Slidell?
What?
Where the river,
About 50 miles up, so it's a little farther past Slidell.
I'm from here.
From where?
I'm from New Orleans.
Yeah, it's farther. It's about 50 miles from the mouth of it. So you're going to be up probably around maybe Poplarville, maybe a little farther than that and everything like that. Now, up ahead of us on the right-hand side, they do have some that are going to be on the left-hand side though. These are what they call a houseboat. Now, why they call them a houseboat, I'm not entirely sure, because they are not a boat at all. But they'll build the bottom platform and they shove 55-gallon drums underneath them. I've seen them use big styrofoam blocks. I've even seen them use old refrigerators and freezers that they fill full of foam and they'll shove up underneath there. They just want to keep that platform buoyant. But then they go ahead and they build the house part on it. So what they're mainly going to use these things for is a camp. So the guys will get off work on Friday evening and the first thing they do is they go to the store and they buy a lot of beer. They come out here and they start fishing and drinking and fishing and drinking. It is an endless cycle till about Sunday evening. And they'll pack on up and head on home. Now I think one thing that's cool about them though, if you ever do to get tired of your spot, you can go hook your boat up to it, untie your lines, move your houseboat up or down river depending on which way you want it to go. Tie it back up and now you got a new front yard. Now the one thing you don't want to do though is tie it up on somebody's private land. The ones on the left hand side up there, they own on private property. People who own that land just brought those out here so they have a place to stay. Now you go move your houseboat and you tie it up to somebody's private land and you leave. When you come back, you're not going to have a houseboat anymore. And we'll cut those lines and let it float on down the river like Huckleberry Finn.
Oh, they're gonna let them throw it in.
Now, a lot of the ones on private land, they have power ran out to them. A lot of the ones on public land, they run on generators. But when they all have to go to the bathroom, they use a bucket. So if we see any buckets floating around today, we are not going to inspect those. I don't want to know what's in there. Now, I think the last thing about it is pretty cool, though. You ever decide to come out here and retire, you could build you a nice houseboat. You wake up in the morning, make yourself a cup of coffee or crack open a beer, depending on what you prefer, I suppose. You're going to step out on your porch. You probably have a big old alligator out there with you. But it is property tax free. They can't charge you to live out here on the river. So yeah, start y'all's retirement plans, guys.
Sticky up flat land.
What we seen?
Now, guys, in a second, we are going to get up on the throttle and get a little bit of our Louisiana AC on this boat. So y'all watch your hats or glasses or anything you might not want to fly off your head. If it does, it might be kind of hard to get it back. And if you're taking any pictures by the rail, make sure you have a good hold on your phone, though, because if that one goes in, we're definitely not getting that back. It's not a good way to start or end your vacation. So,
I got a question.
what do you got?
What kind of fish is it?
I'm gonna tell you in just a minute. Let's get down river a little bit. always like to slow down in through here. They got a really bad bend in the river right here.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, they actually had a bass fishing tournament going on out here, and they had a guy coming up river and a guy going down river doing about 60 miles an hour, and they met in this bend. They did hit head on. One of the guys didn't make it. Luckily, the other guy did, but we always like to just slow down. Ain't nobody gonna come flying up on us from down river. Now in this area, you are gonna see more trees laid over and everything like that, uprooted and things. Now this came from our last hurricane when we had Hurricane Ida back in August of last year. Now she had winds of around 155 miles an hour. So a lot of these trees don't have a very deep root base. They're real shallow. They just can't handle those winds for very long, and eventually they'll go ahead and lean on over. Now she had a storm surge of about 8 feet. Not too terribly bad for us here. We've definitely had a lot worse. She did a lot more of her flooding towards the bottom of the state. She did flood some spots in Slidell in our lower areas, but most of her damage was from her winds, knocking down trees and power lines and things like that. Now luckily for us, we do have those nice linemen that like to come through here after a hurricane and make all that money. So they put us back together pretty quick. We were out about a week in the city in Slidell and about 3 weeks out here. Now, when Katrina came through though, she had a storm surge of about 18 to 20 feet. So that's a big difference though. So they do have spots still in this river where there's boats along the sides of the river. Some of the canals, actually the one we're going to go into a little bit, you'll see there's like a barge along the side of the canal. And even in the woods in some spots, they have old semi-trailers just sitting out there. And when that water finally receded, it just dropped everything right where it was at. Now, as long as it's not blocking the navigable waterway, the state doesn't worry about it. They say leave alone, next storm will take it, it'll finally rot away after a while. And the stuff that's in the woods, they leave alone because it's too much harm to try to take them out. They'd have to go in there and cut all kind of trees and things out just to pull them out of there. They just leave them alone, let squirrels, raccoons, other little rodents and stuff like that, make little condos out of them out there. Now, you do get tide effect for this river for about the first 20 miles of it. Now, we don't have any kind of crazy tides in Louisiana. You might get a 2-foot tide, that might be your max in a day. And you're gonna have a high tide and a low tide. Now, they will change up. Sometimes you're gonna have a high tide in the morning and a low tide in the evening. Sometimes you might have the low tide in the morning and the high tide in the evening. It kind of just varies. Now, where this river starts, though, they do have a big reservoir up there. So if they get too much water in that thing, they can open it up, kind of let some water out in the river. And they also have a couple of locks, too, on here, about 5 of them, that they can actually open up, control water levels. This thing's mainly dependent on rainwater. So the more rain you get, the higher it will be. Now, about 3 weeks ago, we had our little dry spell. We weren't really getting much rain. We kind of dropped this thing down to about 9 feet. So we were a lot lower, hitting a lot more sandbars, finding a lot more logs and things like that. Now, luckily, we have been getting our rains here lately. Not every day. It's been wanting to dump on us for a little bit. So it's kind of brought the river up to about 6 or 7 feet. Now, we're still probably about 3 or 4 feet lower than about what it would normally be, but we'll eventually get back there. Now, this being that this is all freshwater, different kind of fish we are going to have in here. We're going to have our alligator gar. They do have large and smallmouth bass out here. We have brim, perch, and sac-a-lait. Sac-a-lait is just a type of sunfish. It can be about as big as my hand, not too big. People like to just gut them up, fry them up whole. We have catfish out here. That's probably one of the main targeted fish that's going to be in this water. And then we do have white sturgeon out here also. Now, a buddy of mine actually caught one about 3 weeks ago. It's about 8 foot long out here. Now, you have to be careful with those sturgeon. They got those plates on their back, and they can cut you up pretty good if you handle them wrong. So you just got to watch out with those guys. Now, as you get out like into the lakes and everything, it is going to change a little bit though, because you get more of that salt in the water. Now, their only main fish is going to be a redfish. Now, that's a nice white flaky fish, not really fishy tasted at all. Most of the restaurants around here actually have it on the menus. A lot of times they put all different kinds of sauces on top of them, things like that. They're really good. I advise trying them if you haven't had them. Then they have speckled trout out there. They do have stingrays. I don't really mess with the stingrays though. But if I catch one, I'll cut that line, that hook right out of their mouth about 2 or 3 days. Because if you do get stuck with that barb, you are going to the hospital and they got to cut that thing out. That's not worth it.
Can you eat stingray?
You can if you want to. They got people that eat them.
Yeah. Lady coming over. You want some dinner?
He likes blue life jackets.
He's small. He's small. That's a baby.
I would say it's a baby, but
He's a baby. What?
now there's our American alligator. Now there is a way to tell the size of an alligator just by looking at them. You measure from the tip of their snout to their eyes. However many inches it is, that's how many feet that alligator will be. Now,
His eyes from his eyes.
from his nose to his eyes.
Oh, okay.
Now, they have those bumps that are on their back. That's what they call their scoots. Now, that's actually how alligators warm up. So they'll get on the top of the water, or they'll get out on a log, stuff like that. The sun's gonna hit those plates and warm those plates up, and then their blood vessels run through there. After a while, that heats them up. Smaller ones, they heat up in a couple hours. Larger ones, it might take a day or so for them to warm up. Now, on the water, they can swim about 30 miles an hour.
What?
And on land, they can run 10 to 12 miles an hour. Now, everybody always
What?
tell
Yeah,
you run in a zigzag, an alligator can't catch you. That's a lie.
What?
Now, an alligator doesn't want to chase you, but if they did, they're most definitely not going to run in a zigzag to do it. Now, luckily for y'all, I do know the best way to get away from an alligator if one does start to chase you. One starts chasing you and you're with your friend or your spouse or anything like that, you tell them to run in a zigzag and you run in a straight line. You're good to go. Won't catch you.
You gotta be a fast runner. Huh?
Yeah.
You better be a
You
sprinter.
don't have to be fast, you just don't have to be the slowest.
They're not that well. I've never been chased by one.
Please
He's the
see
only
them.
one. That's what somebody else.
No, they got some more. They should have some more.
I'm talking about the Hank in that community.
Oh, they're solitary animals, but there's so many of them, they hang around each other.
That's what I'm talking
That's not because they enjoy each other's company, they just around. Now, maybe raccoons, pigs, maybe. I haven't really been seeing many pigs lately. It's just been hot. Pigs and hogs, same thing.
Yeah, but I'm talking that's a big old creature. They can get big out there, I imagine.
Now, back with those fish though a little bit. So they do have another fish out there that's called a black drum. Now, there's a cousin to the redfish. Now, people around here, if they don't know them, not familiar with them, they'll go out there to catch them. If they catch one that's about 24 to 6 inches, they think they got a nice fish. They go take it home, go to clean it, and they're full of worms. You can't eat them. So normally you want one of those to eat. They are good eating and everything like that, but normally you want one of those about 16 to 18 inches. You let the bigger ones go, just let them be breeders. Now, they do have another fish out there too, though. It's called a sheep's head. Now, sheep's head is just a black and white striped fish, and it does have teeth like a sheep. The main reason for those teeth, it likes to eat the barnacles that are on the sides of the pylons around here. Now, a lot of time when they're actually making imitation crab meat here, a lot of times it's actually made out of sheep's head.
Oh, okay.
Now, I can't tell you how many people get on a boat like, oh, that's gross, that's nasty. Which I always apply to them. Why? You know you're not eating crab to begin with, right? So it's got to be something else. Now, a lot of times too, when they have those little scallops, a lot of times that's not really a scallop. They do have a little plug tool. They can plug stingray meat. It looks and tastes just like scallops do. Louisiana likes to lie to you sometimes about what they're feeding you. That's where everybody pretty much goes and hunts and fishes for themselves around here. Good thing about us in Louisiana, though, everybody around here knows how to cook. They could feed you a boot, you wouldn't even know the difference. You know, you'd be fine. Now, anybody out here had those gator bites since you've been here? Yeah, what they taste like?
Pork.
Pork? A lot of times they tell you they taste like chicken. There's a main reason a lot of times they tell you it tastes like chicken, though, because most of the time they're going to feed you chicken. It's a lot cheaper to feed people chicken than it is alligator, and they are pretty close. Finally, just a little more rubbery. Yeah, that's Alex.
Oh, y'all got his name on it? You look like you can jump in there and eat it.
I mean, that one before could have jumped in there if he wanted to.
Yeah, you look like you can jump in there.
Man, you mind sitting down?
Man, why you come looking at me, man? Huh?
Man, mind sitting
Oh,
down?
I'm sorry. I thought you did.
Now, rain season's over for them. That's normally in April. It's about a month long. So what Mom's doing right now, she's hanging around her nest. So before that, though, she's going to go build a nest out in the marshlands. She's going to make it out of sticks and mud and grass and different things like that. Now, she can have anywhere from 20 to 60 eggs. They can be from different males. They do get around a little bit. Now she obviously can't lay on those eggs to incubate them though. So how they get incubated is as that nest starts to decay, it's going to produce heat. So normally if it's about 90 degrees and up, you're going to have all males. If it's about 88 degrees and lower, you're going to have all females. And if you are in that 2-degree range, you will have a mixture of both. Now she'll sit around that nest for about 65 days protecting it, keeping them safe from birds, raccoons, other alligators, things like that trying to eat her eggs. And after they all hatch though, she goes back up to the nest She'll open her mouth, they all climb in, and she'll take them to the river and she lets them go. Now after that, they're on their own. Now there are a lot of things that like to eat baby alligators though, because they're not very big. They're only about 6 inches long when they're born. So you got things like great blue herons, great white egrets, raccoons, catfish, other alligators. The list goes on and on. So if 50 of them hatch, maybe 5 to 7 of them might actually make it to adulthood, around 10%.
What are you feeding them?
It's a protein pellet. You want to try one? So it started out, we used to feed them with hot dogs. You put them on a stake, you can make them jump out of the water. Then everybody said we were teaching alligators how to lunge out of the water. No, that's a lie. Alligators already know how to jump out of the water 2/3 of their body. That alligator get clean above this canopy if you wanted to.
But this canopy?
Yep, that one right there.
Jump out of the water? Right?
Yep.
Let's go.
Now, so then they swap to marshmallows. So they say they don't process the sugar with marshmallows, it goes straight through them. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I've never seen a marshmallow tree growing out here in the swamp either, you know?
That's the same one, right?
So, yeah. So, then we did that, and then everybody said we were giving them diabetes. So we swapped these protein pellets, crushed bones, fish meal, things like that. Kind of what they feed them in zoos and things like that. Just, now it doesn't sustain them, it's not enough. They still have to go do their hunting and, you know, scavenging, whatever they like to do. Kind of like you eating a cracker for them, you know, pretty much the same concept. Now, they aren't any kind of crazy predators. A lot of people think alligators are some kind of crazy hunter. They are not. They are really opportunists.
Oh.
Most of the time, alligators around here actually like to go hang out by people's docks, and when they're skinning their fish and they throw the leftovers in the river, they go and get them. Our bigger alligator we have upriver, I saw him the other day, and he had a skinned catfish in his mouth that was about this long. So he went up there to the dock and took him. He was going back to his house to eat him. So now, mainly for their diet, they're going to eat fish and birds. A lot of people think they eat turtles. They don't really eat turtles though, because if they're going to swallow everything whole. So if you have a turtle like this size, you got to be a big alligator to eat it.
I knew you didn't wash your hands.
I did. You want to try it?
No.
Now, they will occasionally go for larger game though, so like a deer or a pig or things like that, but they kind of just hang around, kind of see where they're coming down to the water, either getting a drink or crossing the river and things like that. Then they just wait out. So then when that animal comes down, they'll come out the water, they grab them, and they drag them back in the water, and they do what's called a death roll, and they just start spinning with them. And it just drowns the animal that they have. So then they'll go ahead and they'll rip a chunk off of it, and they'll eat it. And then they take the rest of the animal, and they'll go shove it underneath logs or rocks and stuff like that in the river. Start to let it rot a little bit, get a little more tender, and then when they're hungry again, they'll go back up there and pull a chunk off of it. Now, they don't really eat too much. It's like he gets a meal for his size, you know, I don't really exactly know how much it would be. But if he gets one good meal in a month, he's fine. Yeah, they don't have to eat that much. Kind of like, you know,
I thought they ate all day long.
No. Now, you can kind of tell the size with them to their age to a certain extent. Now, alligators going to grow 8 to 12 inches every year for their first 6 years of life. Now, after 6 years, they're about 6 foot. They're pretty much top predator out here. They've reached sexual maturity. They can start reproducing. All they got to worry about is other alligators. So you can kind of just figure, let's say they grew 12 inches every year. So if it was 4 years old, it'd be about a 4-foot alligator. 2.5 foot, it'd be about a 2.5-year-old alligator. Now the problem it is when it gets hard to tell is when they get 6 foot. Because after they reach 6 foot, then they slow down. They might grow 1 to 4 inches a year. So you could have like a 13 or 14-year-old alligator who's 6 foot, you know, so it kind of just depends on them.
Hello, baby one.
Now that bigger one back there, he's a jerk. His name is Alex. They used to have a bunch of alligators out in here, like 25 or so.
Are they going over there?
Maybe more than that. And he's chased pretty much found all of them out of here already. So,
they eat each other. Yeah, they come and feed until they get. There was one over here?
yeah, a little one over
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Alex is probably coming too.
Yeah, they eat right here.
Now, would anybody swim out here?
Yeah, I can swim.
Would you swim now? No?
Would I swim if I had to?
Now, I swim out here plenty of times, daytime and nighttime.
Oh,
You could jump in right now, the alligators just swim off.
no, I ain't trying that. No. I can swim.
Now, I only get a couple incidents a year from alligators, and most of the time it's them actually eating people's pets around here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we do have a lot of houses that are on the canals. They go put their, let their dog or cat out. They go down by the water. The alligators come up there and they grab them.
Right. Take
So
off.
we've actually only had 2 reported deaths in the state of Louisiana from an alligator. One was in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and one was actually last year when we had Hurricane Ida.
Oh, fish right there.
It's catfish.
Well,
So-
he might be a meal.
Yeah. So what happened was with that one though, during Ida, is they had a couple live not too far from here, and they started to flood. So the old man went downstairs to go mess with some of the stuff here, or mess with his generator or whatever. And when he did, he supposedly got attacked by the alligator. Now his wife went downstairs, she went to go drag him up the stairs, and then she left to go get the authorities. I'm pretty sure if it was my wife, I'd at least brought her in the house. Probably would at least took her with me, but they're a little bit older, so I can see that's fine. Now when she got back with the authorities, he was gone. And they did find him in the belly of that alligator. Wow. But I am here to tell you, in Louisiana, if you ever want to get rid of your spouse, the best way to do is feed him to an alligator. They didn't ask any questions.
Let me help you.
Now I'm pretty sure she Carol Baskin him, I'm just saying.
I can't figure out. I can't figure out.
Hey look, they only make me count y'all getting on the boat. They don't worry about them getting off.
Oh,
so.
no, ain't no count. They know. They take a picture.
Now like this thing over here on the left hand side, this is from Katrina. It's been sitting there set, like old deck boards and stuff they had.
Yeah, that's all.
What? What lunch? Yeah, that stuff's sticky.
Oh.
Now, they got like this barge that's over in the left-hand side. I don't know if anybody's familiar with barges or anything like that. Now, this company, they actually work, like they do a lot of work for offshore rigs and everything like that. They go tear down rigs or bring them new pipes and stuff like that. Now, this kind of barge here is called a spud barge, though. Now, you'll see it's got those two big old pipes in them. So what they do is that barge has two holes going to, actually it's got 4 of them in it, but it's got 4 holes going straight through the center of the barge. So they take those pipes, they've actually got this one tied off now, it's not spudded down. But they got that little pin that's on that pipe right there. So they'll take that crane and they hook up to the top of that pipe and they'll lift that pipe up and they drop the crane and that spud comes down and sticks in the mud. It just anchors that barge out for them.
Oh, okay, just use it as an anchor.
Yeah, so if like you went out in the lakes or anything like that, you just dropped it out and you
That's
barge
stationary.
in.
That's stationary, right?
Yeah, that crane doesn't move it. That one stays just to lift those spuds up. Yeah. Now, has anybody seen the show Swamp People?
Yep.
Yeah? You like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It's okay.
You get paid.
Yeah. Now, they do hunt alligators here, though.
Yeah, they get paid.
Now, alligator hunt season is going to be in September and it's only a month long. You do have to get tags to hunt them though. So if you own a lot of property that's like out in the marsh or in the swamp, things like that, they will give you tags.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have a lottery system. So you can put your name in, you might get tags, you might not. I put mine in this year, I didn't get any. I'll try again next year.
You sell yours?
But I didn't get any. No, I'm going to use it. I'm going to put it in the freezer.
Oh, you eat it?
No. So now once you get your tags there, you can come start out here and hunt them. So how they do it is they take a line and they tie it up to the tree. And then they're going to take a cane pole and they shove that out in the mud on an angle. Now the thing is with alligator hunting, you want to put your bait up high because you do want a big alligator so they can jump 2/3 of their body out of the water. Thing is with them too though, is if you catch one that's 2 foot or 10 foot, it doesn't matter, you have to take it. You're not going to make any money off a 2-foot alligator. So they'll go ahead and they hang their bait up. It's normally chicken and they've been letting it sit out in the sun for 2 or 3 days, getting nice and ripe. And then they'll go ahead and hang it up and they leave. Now when they come back, if the line's in the water, they know they got an alligator. So they'll go ahead and pull up on that line. That alligator's going to come straight up to the surface. No fuss, no fight, anything like that. And they got the little sweet spot right behind their head. They'll normally shoot them with a 22. Puts them out instantly, they drag them in the boat. Now if you're watching Swamp People though, you got Troy and Elizabeth out there. And they're hunting them, and you know, Troy pulling up on that line. He breaks the surface of the water with that alligator. It's thrashing around doing his thing. He's screaming at Elizabeth, "Shoot him, Elizabeth, you got to shoot that alligator. Come on, we got to get that alligator in the boat." That's not how it goes though. Now the problem with the show after it came out that everybody wanted to come out here and go hunt an alligator. So you had people paying like $4 grand just to hunt one. It really is quite boring. If you watch how they do it, you watch about 15 minutes of that show, you never watch it again. That's pretty much how all the shows we like to watch are there. They got to fluff it up with something. Now, main thing that's kind of the dangerous, like the more kind of thrilling part, I guess, it could be from alligator hunting would be a lot of time when they're hunting alligators, they actually go and they steal eggs out of the nest. So a lot of people who farm alligators, they actually buy eggs. That way they can diversify their stock of alligators with the farms, you know, and not interbreeding alligators and things like that. So you normally got one person with a stick holding mom at bay, and then you got another person digging around in the nest taking eggs out of it. So And they're not necessarily, that's not necessarily funny because those nests are full of fire ants. So like, you gotta keep messing around with them.
You gotta know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not caging.
Yeah, no, I'm not caging. You gotta keep on going farther in.
You talking like
Now,
I know, but you need
Are you Cajun?
Yeah, you might as well have raised Cajun.
You don't sound very Cajun.
No, I'm not Cajun. I'm called.
Other people around here call us a coon ass.
Oh, you a coon ass.
No, I'm not. That's what they call you.
I know. I'm from here.
Huh? You do what with them? Oh, where do you buy them?
Oh, real?
You could actually buy them.
Oh,
She said
actually, you
Philly
can't.
usually buys them.
Normally, you can't have alligators as pets or anything like that.
Ain't nothing.
So alligators are actually, they're not like endangered or anything like that, but they are pretty much protected. You can't touch an alligator unless it's hunting season for them and you have those tags. Don't touch an alligator.
Yeah,
Because it's a big fine and it's some jail time to go along with it. Now, like, they have that little alligator that's up in the shop, you know, thing like that. They have a farm called Instigator, and they actually, like, lease out alligators, but you have to have permits and stuff like that for them and things like that. But other than that, you can't have alligators, you can't keep them or anything like that. They don't necessarily make the greatest pets anyway, so. Now, that line's called a limb line.
Okay.
So that's how people around here target catfish.
I see the line.
Yep. So that line just goes in the water. It's got a weight down at the bottom of it and a hook about a foot up from that. Now we do have different kinds of catfish out here. They got spoonbill cats, we have flatheads, channel cats, blue cats, and we do have one called a tabby cat. Now tabby cats do get to be the biggest around here. Me and my brother have actually pulled one out of here on a trot line before that was about 60 pounds.
Whoa.
Now,
There's a lot of cats.
there is different kind of baits you can use for them. You can use chicken livers or melt, pogies or different bait fish that we have around here. But what we've actually found that works the best is soap.
Soap, huh?
Soap, yeah. So they have a soap. So they have a certain brand of soap. It's called Zote. Some people call it Zote. It depends on who you are and how you pronounce it. But if you start reading the ingredient list on that soap, it's about 68% animal fat. So they take that bar of soap and they cut it up into cubes, put one of those cubes on the hook, throw it in the water. Once it hits the water, it starts releasing those oils. The catfish smell it, they like it, they come up there and they take a bite and they get hooked.
What's when I buy it?
Dollar store or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, I will tell you the best part about using that soap though, is when you come out here to check your lines, you pull your line up, you got a catfish on there, you take the catfish off the hook, you throw it in the boat, it's clean for you already. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You trying to be funny.
Now the main reason they use that soap though, those guys might set anywhere from 50 to 100 lines in a night. Now you go start using something mushy like a chicken liver or things like that, you get 20 lines and your bait's already starting to fall off the hooks. Soap you're good for about 2 or 3 days out here. We used to have a house over there.
Oh, that's
Now, they do fish farm another way too. They use what's called a hoop net. Now, when we were actually walking out to the boat, they had one underneath the bridge. We walked underneath on the right-hand side, on the left when you go back up if you want to look at it or anything. Now, that's just a big net that they tie wooden or plastic hoops into. That way it expands the net when it hits the water. Now, the bait they use for that, though, is called catfish cheese. Now, catfish cheese is just cheese that you and me would eat, but they put it in a 55-gallon drum and let it sit for about a year. It stinks. Yeah, it's bad. Now, one of my buddies does happen to fish with those nets, and he'll use that bait, and he sells the fish that he catches. And I go over by his house to hang out with him, drink a beer, and when I walk in his backyard, I'll fall down. It stinks so bad back there. Daddy, man, you got to put the cap on that cheese. He said, it just smells like money to me, Pat. Your money stinks. I think he's messed with that stuff so long, he burnt all the hair out of his nostrils, too. And everything. Now we do have our bald cypress trees here. Now they are protected in the state of Louisiana. They used to be able to log out here for them. I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we get upriver, you know. But now you can get permits to cut them down. A lot of the time the tree has to be diseased though. So actually a lot of people will normally build around them here. You'll see on this house up here to the left-hand side, they've got one going through their porch over here.
Oh, okay.
Now I have seen places out here where that bald cypress tree goes straight through the center of their house.
Yeah.
Now people always ask me, well, why don't they move their house around? Well, you can kind of see the lot size. You don't really have much room to be moving your house.
Yeah.
So they just build around and make big tree houses out of them pretty much.
Let me ask you, is there a road that runs behind?
Yep.
There is?
Yeah. Now, how you get your camper up there though, that's a different story. That is some redneck ingenuity at its finest, I can tell you all that. I think he handed somebody his beer, was like, hey y'all, watch this. So.
They must have pulled, they go there and unload their head.
Now,
This is like
I have been told that it's the mother-in-law suite. And they do have a little pull-back staircase up there, so once they get her up there, they pull that staircase back, keep her up there as long as they want. So, thinking about making one of my house.
Yeah, it looks like they're taking unload their fish and clean it. Yeah, there's another company there.
Now they do have this bridge that's up here. It is closed right now. They're about to start doing some repairs on it or build a new one. I don't know yet. But it is the oldest working vertical lift bridge in the state of Louisiana. Now it was built in 1933 and it is all riveted. There are no welds on that bridge. Now up there towards the top, they have those two counterweights and they weigh about 85,000 pounds apiece. So the bridge tender who come out here and he climbs up into the top of that house on the top of the span. He'll push his buttons on his control panel and those counterweights will start to come down and the center of that bridge goes straight up. Now it only takes about 15 minutes for it to open and close, so not too terribly bad. And anybody can get it open for themselves. They do have a 1-800 number on that sign. You can call it and they will come out here and open it for you free of charge. But it also says you can expect to wait up to 4 hours before they get out here to you. And they do mean every minute of it. Now there's only a couple tenders left in the state that can actually still run that bridge. And I met one of them not that long ago. His name was Tim. And I said, Tim, what you do if you get a call to open that bridge? He's like, well, Pat, depends on what time of day it is. He said, if it's the morning time, I'll go ahead and I'll make me some breakfast. He said, then I'll watch one of my TV shows. He said he likes watching Bonanza. He said, then I'll do some chores around the house and I'll get in my truck and I'll come out here and open the bridge. Now the kicker about that though is Tim lives in Slidell like me, so he's only about 12 minutes away, but he does not care. It's a 4-hour minimum when he comes out.
Oh, okay.
Now, I know it's gonna sound crazy too, but I get this question every day. Somebody always asks, well, do they stop the traffic when they open the bridge? No, they just let the cars drive off in the river. Of course they stop the traffic when they open the bridge. I am a firm believer and there's no such thing as a dumb question, but that one's a little bit borderline, man.
Yeah, it really look, it can't go in. No, so it must be a pretty nice sized boat that's going.
Yeah, normally like shrimp boats or crab boats, stuff like that and everything. Mainly for houseboats and stuff like that.
Oh,
It maybe gets lifted 3 or 4 times a year for actual traffic. Now they would come out like every 3 to 4 months and lift it for maintenance wise and stuff. But
it needs a paint.
it needs a lot of things.
Yeah, it might not even be functional. I would think that.
Now, does anybody on here like spiders?
No.
Yeah, that's
Snakes,
normal
no,
response.
no snakes.
Now we're gonna look underneath this bridge. We do normally get some spiders. They get about this big.
What kind of end
Now, I don't know their technical name. We call them fishing spiders, but when they see a fish down by the surface of the water, they'll actually drop down and they'll grab it. They'll bring it back up there and put it in the web. Now they do get hard to see sometimes. They blend in pretty well with that bridge, and they got a lot of dirt dauber nests and purple martins. Now I have had them hit the top of the canopy before, but I've never had one in the boat. So if you are freaked out by spiders or terrified of it, they're not gonna get in there. I don't know. I've never been bit by one. You see anything?
I see
Spiders?
I see that. Oh, the spider!
I was waiting for that.
They sound like that.
Why? Because that's what you do.
Exactly.
Guys, we don't have any spiders like that here. Now,
That's a thing to build it hard.
purple martin nest. It's a bird. Now we do actually have a fishing spider here though. We might see some when we get upriver a little bit though. Now they are pretty crazy. They do get that big. Sometimes they even get bigger than that. Now they actually will go in the water. Now when they go in the water, they'll go down on the tree and go in the water. And they collect air bubbles on their legs. So if they need air and everything like that, they can bring their legs up to them almost like a crab would. And they actually have one of the strongest bites in the world for a spider too. So they go in little crevices, the bald cypress trees and the Tupelo gums, and the fish will swim in those little crevices and everything. They can actually grab them and they'll come back out the water with them. Pretty wild. Now, everything that we've been in today is the Honey Island Swamp. And the Honey Island Swamp's around 77,000 acres. Now 35,000 of this is owned by the state of Louisiana, and it's a wildlife management area. Now they do have hunting seasons out here. They normally start in October and they're going to end in February the following year. You can hunt for things like squirrels, rabbits, raccoons, wild pigs, and white-tailed deer. Now I got its name. We have a lot of Tupelo gum trees out here. And a lot of times honeybees like Tupelo gums. So get a little rotten spot in and they'll start to hollow out. It just makes for a nice easy spot for them to build their hive in. So once they started inhabiting the area, everybody would come out here to collect honey, either for personal use or to sell it, things like that. Now across the river on that tree, they got that little white sign. You'll see them all over the place though. It's just a white sign with the state of Louisiana with a bird flying through it. Okay. Now anytime you see one of those signs though, that is just going to let you know that's the state's property.
Okay.
So it is public land. You could go out there if you wanted to. But everything for about the next 10 miles up will have water on the land, whether it's 6 inches to 18 inches, could be 2 or 3 feet in some spots. So I suggest having some waders if you go. Now as you get a little farther up though, you get a lot higher banks, so you get a lot more drier land. Now they have different kinds of animals out here too. They have squirrels, rabbits, raccoons, wild pigs, and white-tailed deer. We do have possums out here. They have bobcats. We have river otters, nutria, and beavers. They do have the Louisiana blackberry out here. They have panthers out here. We also have cougars out here. Not like the ones you see walking down Bourbon Street, but we got some cougars out here too.
My wife is a cougar.
Well, the ones on Bourbon bite a little harder, but